And He will provide the strength for me to take these next steps. That's all I ask, is that God would give me the strength to endure the journey. All of a sudden, the cancer reoccurs. I announce my retirement. There's more surgeries, radiation therapy, a staph infection that lasts for 10 months. And you know what, folks? In the midst of all of that, you get so tired of the stuff, the day in and the day out. So my life wasn't looking really pretty. I was struggling. I was having a really hard time. In the midst of that, Jan was struggling too. But you know what? Her struggle wasn't visible. Mine was. And so when she started talking about her pain, I said, really? Look at me. I'm the one. I'm the one that's struggling. And I was so insensitive to the hurt that she was experiencing in her life through clinical depression as a result of being burned out from taking care of me. Taking care of me. And I wouldn't even acknowledge her pain. And in the midst of going through the amputation, one day I looked at her because I was so disgusted with her whining that I grabbed the phone off the wall, wound up, threw it on the floor, and it broke into a million pieces, and I said, there, go call your help now. And all of a sudden, I became a very ugly man. And I'm ashamed to stand up here and tell you that part of my story. But in order to understand how amazing God is, you need to know that He was right there in the middle of my ugliness too. He didn't desert me. And I am so thankful that we actually did go to counseling, because it was in that counseling that God showed up and helped me to see the pain that my wife was in and the pain that I was in. And through that process, we began to heal. But it took a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And the good and the bad and the ugly are a very important part of every one of our stories. But the most important part of my story was when all of a sudden I started talking about the ugly and exposing it. Because you know what? When you start telling other people about your ugliness and your sin, that's when you begin to heal. And so I came to that place in my story and on my journey where when my card looked like this, and I had to ask the question, if my baseball card still looks like this, does Dave Dravecky have worth? I can stand up here today and tell you without any hesitation that I have worth beyond my comprehension. And the reason why is not because of anything that I have done, but it is because of everything that God has done for me in the midst of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And folks, I want you to know something. He can be that for you. And you know what was so freeing? One of the things I've come to discover in the past 2 years, and I've actually been talking to Adam about this, Pastor Adam, is this whole message of God's grace. Sometimes I wonder if we really do understand it. Let me ask you a very important question, because I think it has helped me more today to know the answer to this question as I've looked at my own story in relationship to the ugly part of my life than at any other time in my life. And that's this. On your worst day, does Jesus love you any less than He already does? On your worst day. No. His love on your worst day is more than you can comprehend. Folks, if that doesn't get you excited about the God of this universe, then nothing will. Because what that says to me is that even on my worst day, I can run to Him because of that amazing love. I can run to Him. And you know what's beautiful about being able to do that? Is that in reality when I run to Him, I'm running to somebody with skin on that's going to love me like He loves me. Because that's how God shows up in our lives. That's what we're here for. That's what this night is all about. A woman wants you to know. And you can run to her and her friends because they're going to love you the same way that Jesus loves you. Even on your worst day. Even on your worst day. Because that's the power of Jesus in them that allows them to love like that. Now, for some of you, hearing this may be a little bit uncomfortable. But that's okay. Now, there's a lot of things that I've experienced in my life that have made me really uncomfortable in relationship to God. Really uncomfortable. Because that's the journey of every one of our lives. There's just stuff we don't understand. And we won't understand because God's bigger than all of this. And yet, in the midst of the journey that we're on, He can be trusted. He can be trusted with it all. Because He loves us. You know, there's a wonderful quote. I'm going to share this with you as I close. It's an amazing quote. And I discovered it in reading a book by Philip Yancey. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Philip Yancey, but he's written some pretty cool stuff that's very encouraging. And I came across this quote tonight, and I don't get to share it very often, but I want to share this with you tonight. It relates to the stories of our lives, every one of us. And as we think about this, I think that's really the reason why we're here tonight, as we celebrate. I mean, this is really a celebration of life. It really is. And there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of adversity that's in this room tonight. But in reality, God still wants us to celebrate because we're here for one another. There was this theologian who I'm not even familiar with, but he made this incredible statement, and it was addressing a group of women who were deaconesses in a church involved with disabled people. This individual's name is Jürgen Moltmann. And Jürgen attacked the modern distinction that tends to distance healthy people from the disabled or handicapped. In reality, there is no such thing as a non-handicapped life. Only the ideal of health set up by a society of the capable condemns a certain group of people to be called handicapped. Our society arbitrarily defines health as the capacity for work and the capacity for enjoyment. But true health is something quite different. True health is the strength to live, the strength to suffer, and the strength to die. Whole to cope with the varying condition of that body. In that respect, every human life is limited, vulnerable, and weak. And how many of us are familiar with that powerful verse in Corinthians where the Apostle Paul says that when I am weak, then I am strong. Because it's in His strength that we can move forward in our weakness. In our weakness. And so tonight, as you guys leave this place, I guess there's only one thing I want you to think about. It's really the love of God that comes through the power of community. And as you think about that, think about how significant then your life is as you live. As you live your story in the context of God's greater story. Think about the significance of your life. Think about the impact of your life on others. Think about how important and how valuable you are in God's economy. Because in the end, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is, we need each other. More today than ever before, we need each other. We all need each other. There was a time in my life when I couldn't say this, but I can say it now with all my heart. And that's this. Cancer. Cancer has been a blessing in Dave Dravecky's life. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Wow, thanks, David. That was great. I don't know about you, but I really needed that.